Hey guys, Zanaki here with episode 6 of the Zanaku Masterclass. In this video, we're going to be talking about 2 points of attack, faking sound, and crosshair placement. Now, starting off with the first idea, 2 points of attack. Now, what this really means, as you can probably imagine in the statement, is that we have the possibility to attack from 2 points. Now, why that's a big deal? Let's say if I'm player A comes up the stairs, player B is the person who's holding his position and able to shoot them coming up. And my crosshair is very easy. I just know exactly where to hold it, exactly here. Now, why that might be an issue, again, we're going to look at later with crosshair placement and how that's a thing and how it relates together. Now, here's really something interesting that I noticed actually when I did this one time, when I was actually playing this map specifically. And what that is the 2 points of attack from, let's say, a position like this. Now, if a player is defending this armor, and I'm coming from this angle here, there's no clear way actually where for this player to put their crosshair. If a player is defending this item, it's very awkward for them to kind of be able to see which way you're coming from. If their crosshair is here, but then you come from this angle, well, they have to actually flick their crosshair, move their mouse, perhaps even change weapon, and it's not going to be very favorable. Whereas the player that's here, you can kind of set a tone that they don't know where to actually hold their crosshair. So you could potentially just like wait 1 second, as if you're going to this angle, then to fire a rocket here. And what this does is it actually puts a confusion about where they should stand specifically. Whereas if you're the player that's here, you know exactly where they're doing. You can hear them moving, or potentially they have one place they can only stand. Whereas you could have 2 places, and this actually makes their crosshair placement harder to do. How this relates to the next idea, which is faking sound. Now this is beautiful because I remember I was watching Rafa once, and he does this almost, I think a lot of professional players do this, but I think I first noticed him because he never seems to attack in what I would call a linear fashion. Linear fashion being like exactly, let's say I'm making all the sound, I'm coming exactly where I'm coming from. And again, sometimes this can be okay. Sometimes we want to get to the positions fast enough we don't have time to fake sound. But how that might actually look like a benefit is in faking sound is situations like this. Let's say we fake up the sound to go up the bounce pad, reposition and come through lower, and be able to not have our opponent having their crosshair in the right spot. So let's say I'm the player who's here, and I'm thinking I'm trying to hold here, trying to be able to defend my item and eventually get to the heavy. And what I can do is I can do this, not go through top, and then push through lower. And this is actually going to give me an advantage to potentially get to the heavy and be able to get to the other side. Or let's look at another example too. Let's say if I'm going through, this is something that I really like to do on this map, is where you can go through the TP, button the quad, and as they hear you go through the teleporter, they think you're coming through this side, and then you can quickly run through and take the bounce pad instead. And this actually, again, sets a tone because they think, okay, sweet, I'm going to hold this position from here, and then look at this, they're in a very awkward position to be able to hold you from here, from there instead. So now we can see how faking sound really does have a bigger impact. You'll probably also notice a big one is when people use fake rocket jumps. Let's have a look for here, for example. Fake rocket jumps, especially in this scenario too, where we can get to this position, it makes your opponent panic, and it also allows them to put a perception in their mind of how they're trying to set up for 2 scenarios. If you don't give this is important for this video, if you don't give your opponent the possibility to think you could be in another location, they know exactly how to hold. If your opponent knows exactly how to hold, they know exactly how to set up with the right weapon, granted with the amount of time before the next item, or how much stack both players have to be able to defend. But as soon as you add a rocket jump or an extra dynamic to this, all of a sudden they kind of panic. Instead of them holding through the teleporter in this side, they're busy trying to hold you from here, thinking you're going to be up there, and then you can quickly go through the teleporter and potentially surprise them this way. That's how faking sound becomes kind of an issue, or becomes really relevant in terms of 2 points of attack and faking sound. Now we're going to look at the last idea of crosshair placement. Crosshair placement, as you can imagine, actually has a big deal because, again, like we were talking about earlier with 2 points of attack, they're able to set up exactly the way that they need to defend or push you away. Now, if I don't have the right crosshair placement, let's say I'm firing rockets here, and then you come from this angle, it's very bad. It gives you an opportunity as the opposing player to be able to force yourself onto them. And so now what you can do, and this is the whole beauty of Quake, is that there is no the game is always in a state of flow. There is no kind of set way of like player A does X move and it is successful. It is a matter of like it's more of a spectrum of how much you're able to get away with based on everything we've talked about so far. Momentum of the items, or how fast you're moving, and how much stack people have, how quickly the item's coming up. And what I'm trying to make you understand here is that crosshair placement is giving you the opportunity to be able to set up just as optimally as you can with the way in which you think the situation is going to happen. So again, I'll say that again. Crosshair placement is allowing you to optimally set up for the way you think the situation is going to happen. It's not always going to happen the way that you think it is, but the most important thing here is that you're, again, setting yourself up in a way of what you think is going to happen and then adapt. And then let's say he's over here instead. So then you dodge a particular way, in order to defend that. And you'll notice that as soon as you set up earlier, everything in this game is about how quick you can be. If you can be quick with your crosshair placement and being able to shoot instantly, you'd be surprised how much of effect that has. The game is already fast enough based on the speed of the characters. So if you're able to, already have an idea in your mind of what it's going to look like, you're actually able to like free up a lot of space in your mind of how you're able to play it reflexively. Instead, if I'm always kind of like playing reactively, the brain kind of gets overloaded. It's trying to like calculate too many decisions. Whereas if we can assume a certain amount of factors, we're able to kind of limit, free up brain space to actually be able to do other things. But as soon as we're trying to juggle too many balls, well, it's not going to be a very good time. I think it's quite hard to do it like this. Okay, that's episode 6. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.